Welcome back to Consider It Live. Today I want to remark on something that I found interesting, and that is the use of AI and translation technology to undo the Tower of Babel.
So I would like you to function as a translator. I have a friend here who only speaks Italian, and I only speak English. And every time you hear English, I want you to translate it to Italian. And if you hear Italian, I want you to translate it back to English. Is that good?
Perfetto.
Now, if you're familiar with the biblical Old Testament, you know that in the book of Genesis, mankind was building a tower to reach the heavens. This is the Tower of Babel. God comes down and sees it, and he confuses the language so that people break off into small groups. So it fractures the unity of mankind by fracturing the languages. Well, we've reached a day and age where AI and translation technology is able to develop communication between people who actually don't speak one another's language. I saw this in an airport a few weeks ago. There was a Hispanic lady and one of the workers for the airlines, and the Hispanic lady was speaking into her phone, and then she would hold it up and it would translate her Spanish into English. And the woman would read this, and the woman would speak into the phone, and it would translate it into Spanish, and they were having a conversation. We're at a day and age where what the Lord did at the Tower of Babel is being undone by technology. Now, we can be disconcerted by that, and I do think it is an indicator that we're coming to the end of this particular era of humanity. But one of the things to note, if this gives you sort of a sense of dread that something that God did is being undone by new technology, keep in mind that this is similar to what we see on the day of Pentecost, right? When God could have done anything that he wanted to demonstrate the birth of the church age, where his Holy Spirit now descends upon the church, he could have done anything. He could have had another earthquake like at Christ's crucifixion. He could have had them going about healing and doing miracles. But what he does is he sends tongues of fire, and he enables the apostles to speak in other languages so that the gospel goes out in other languages to the rest of the world. And so I actually find it encouraging that we now have the technological means, the means by which to share the gospel across language barriers. They're, erasing the language barriers using technology. Now, in the same way that at just the right time, Jesus shows up on the scene after the Roman Empire has built roads, literally inroads into across their entire empire, which enabled the early Christians to spread the gospel when communication at that time was verbal, was person to person, and people had to actually travel from place to place in order to spread the gospel. We're now in a place in history where we don't have to travel from place to place. I can sit here in my office and record a video, and it can be seen around the world, and it can be understood by someone who doesn't speak the same native language that I do. So I think it behooves the church to understand the time in which we live and to utilize these technologies in a natural way, in a similar way that the Holy Spirit supernaturally enabled the apostles at Pentecost to spread the gospel in other languages. So I think that's an interesting thing to note. The Tower of Babel, the new technologies that reverse that, and the similarities in intention between the potential of these new technologies and God's intention on the day of Pentecost. So that's it. We'll see you next time.